a unique career option that has only given birth to a new genre of celebrities from all age groups. Content is truly king for this one, by the way. Our next session will be about how one can generate revenue from YouTube. Isn't this what all of us wonder every single day when we open the YouTube app on our phones and systems and see so many videos with absolutely amazing, entertaining content? Well, we have for you a representative of the platform itself. I would like to gladly introduce Ms. Nidhi Thakkar as an esteemed speaker for this session. She handles content partnerships and entertainment, and you guessed it right, at YouTube. She's a specialist in strategy planning, brand building, new media marketing, partnerships, and business development, and has worked with renowned companies like Meta, the Walt Disney Company, L'Oreal, and even the Singapore Tourism Board. A very, very warm welcome to you, Nidhi. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on board with us today for Skills Factor 2022. I'm sure the audience is eagerly waiting to know the secrets of YouTube revenue generation from you. Please take the session ahead, Nidhi. Thank you so much.
Let me start by introducing myself. Maya was very, very kind in her introduction, and she was spot on. I think it's a privilege for me to sort of work with YouTube, which is sort of such a large platform. The number I can share is we reach about 450 million people every month. A large percentage of that is, who we reach every day. And it's a fascinating place, and it's really where the creator economy, as we say, sort of grew and gave birth. And this a common great, my presentation is here, but I'll finish my point. About 7 years ago, right before the geo boom, etc., we had 2 channels which were more than 1 million subscribers. That number is close to 3,000 today, right? So you can just imagine the number of channels that have just grown, and the role that YouTube plays today in sort of many verticals, be it education, be it lifestyle, which is food, fashion, beauty, gaming, which is sort of growing as a vertical. It is the birthplace for comedians, for stand-up, for education and learning. It's large. It's a lot of people have learned so many things on YouTube. And you may have heard that Neeraj Chopra actually learned javelin on YouTube, right? And he's sort of just announced a channel and he's going to give back. So it's a magical place. And what I will share with you here, instead of just saying how to make money out of YouTube, is really to think about, hey, if I want to be a YouTuber and make it a serious side gig or even a full-time profession, how should I think about it, right? And I've sort of put very basic slides, but to really structure a foundational thinking. And so I'm hoping that helps. I will start because we've lost some time. Who is controlling? I'll just say next slide, and then if you could just keep toggling. So next slide, please. Right, so learn the parallels. So like I said, we'll run the parallels of running a business and running a YouTube channel. Because if you think about, hey, I want to be a YouTuber, the closest you can think about is to be an entrepreneur, right? And run your business. So really understand how can you start and build a YouTube career. Understand the unique value that you bring to your viewers, which is really the core, right? We say at YouTube, you either have passion to share something, or you have sort of a talent that you want to bring there, or essentially you're it is your profession, and you really cultivate and curate content. And then we'll also learn a little bit about using a simple business model framework, how you can think about starting this journey. Next slide. So understanding the why of your viewers is critical, and this is true for sort of any of the career paths that you may have heard, right? Why is it for me? Next slide. So at the center is really, why should people relate to your channel, right? Why do you exist, and what's so great? So that's at the center. And then we question how, right? Which is, okay, I'm a great comic. And so how do you bring it alive? And so you may say, I bring it alive by making relatable content that folks of tier 2 towns actually go through and understand. What you do is that you actually make sketch comedy videos, and sometimes you throw in interviews. So that sort of builds out your plan. Let me give you another example. Next slide. Now this is for a very specific product, right? So we all know Tesla. This is an animation slide, so just keep hitting next. So why do we all exist with Tesla? If I told you what is Tesla all about, it makes the world more sustainable, right? That is its core proposition. That's why people took notice and stood apart. And how do they do it? By making products that are elegant as well as innovative, right? They're not clunky, they're really elegant, they're beautiful cars, but they're also innovative. All the features are things that the auto industry was not aware of. And what do? They make electric cars and other products. But now if you contrast that to the Hummer, which a lot of people love, why do you relate to it? Please hit next. Is because it's strong and big. That is the big deal, right? I want a Hummer because I like big, strong cars. And how do they make these big, strong cars? Because they're military grade, right? That is their sort of how and their benchmark. These were originally made for the military, and now today, what they do is they retrofit it for civilian vehicles, and now they're available, and which is why that value proposition works. Next slide. So, if this was a longish workshop and we were sort of, building this out together, I would have said, you now do this exercise, put your name here and think about what you will do. Why are you passionate about creating a YouTube channel? And why should people watch you? What is the content and how will that reason of being come alive, and what you will do, right? So I leave this as homework for you. Next slide. But I'll give you an example of a video, right? So this is it's a really cute channel. You can play a few seconds, sure. It's called Cooking with Dog. She's really famous, and more famous than the Japanese grandmother is this dog called Francis, who actually died a couple of years ago, and it was highly mourned. But why this channel is relatable is because it is cute and educational, right? It's not like any other food channel. But it's also not just cutesy and dog videos. It's educational and it's cute. How do they bring, how do they do this, and how do they bring this reason of being alive? Is it specifically they only do Japanese food and different Japanese food, and there's always the dog feature in it. And what they do is cooking videos, right? So in its core content, what they put out are cooking videos of different Japanese food recipes. So this is sort of an example to say, this is how you can think of your value proposition. To make money at YouTube, you will have to start with what you're offering. And this is really the core of it. Next slide. And I'll pause now and sort of take you through that business, like a simple business model that I was talking about. So at the heart of it is your value proposition. Why will you stand apart from the millions and millions of channels out there, which is what we tried to cover. And I've given you some homework. We will then look at the left and the right, right? So on the left, my left anyway, is, who will it help? How do you do it? What do you need? And now I will talk about who are your customer segments, who will you reach? How do you reach them? And how do you interact with them? And that whole piece is what brings you the supply and the revenue, right? And on the left is essentially what you need to bring this value proposition alive and how much it's going to cost you. So let's start looking on the customer side. So next slide. So customer segments. Now you figured out, hey, I'm making, let's say some of you feel like you're great dancers, right? And you've learned maybe classical music, maybe you're a Kathak dancer and you've decided, I'm going to create these videos where I will teach certain Kathak moves, right? And then you have to start thinking about, okay, who is this for? So where are they located, right? What is their gender? Chances are their women will be more interested. There'll be more primary group. Where will they be? So you may say, actually, it's all over. It's not necessary, but maybe Kathak is more popular in the, in certain states. So you can sort of have that location in mind. And so what languages do they speak? Should I speak in Hindi, English? Should I have very specific dialects? What is their income level? So what will they relate to? What kind of sets? All of those things. What events and moments matter to them? Right? So when you're thinking of your publishing calendar, will you put up something for Republic Day? Because, a Kathak rendition and how do they interact with each other? So how will you sort of build that community? So that's really thinking of customer segments. It's super important who you're building that content for, right? Archetype is important. So hopefully this will give you sort of a sense of that. Next slide. And then channels, right? So where will you exist? So let's again take another example. This is an oldish example, but it's very clear, the customer and viewer segment. So VK Goes Wild is essentially a Ukrainian musician, who sort of discovered on YouTube, and she does piano covers and original songs, but she specializes in rock and heavy metal. She's very, very clear that that's what she does. So her customer segment is actually 25 to 30-year-olds, mostly men, because they, these is what she found, and they're heavy metal music fans. And when she put her content out there, she found that most of it, all the views were actually coming from the US and not necessarily from East Europe, where she is from. And so as she built her YouTube, built her YouTube channel, she didn't stick only to YouTube, right? Because ultimately you have to build distribution. So she puts it out on Instagram, on all the other channels, right? So the Facebook, Reddit, all of these, and these are great places for you to discover, because think of yourself as a business, and how do you sort of get people to discover you? And all these distribution and media outlets today are open to you, right? It is the great creator democracy and economy. Next slide. And so what did you do? You know your value proposition, you figure out your customer segments, you figure out distribution channel, and then you may be thinking, hey, I've put it all out there. When will the money start coming in? And so I'm going to spend a little bit of time on how we make money, but I'll touch upon it very quickly so you know. Next slide. It's for upcoming creators, right? Everyone knows about the ad revenue model, and then there's sort of non-ad revenue model. So the moment you cross 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 public watch time hours, you can actually enter the YPP, and you can, through our platform, sign a YPP, which is the YouTube Partner Program. When you join a YPP, the way YouTube works is that for every time there is an ad that runs on your content, YouTube makes 45. So for every 100 rupees, 45 rupees come to YouTube, 55 rupees actually go to the creator. And so this is actually a very, very powerful reason why, we basically people take up careers as YouTubers. And chances are you will first start with sort of advertising content, because it's exciting. You'll start seeing, money coming in. Of course, how much you make totally depends on how many of your videos actually have an ad running. So it depends on, say, if you were doing food content, which was, say, vegan, right? It's a very niche one, but it's female urban. So if there was an advertiser who wanted to target exactly those people, chances are the algorithm knows that this is the viewers that come from these videos, and this is the right channel where I can sort of run the ad, right? So there's a whole ad server that actually picks the right channels to run it. Your CPM, how much you'll make, etc., will sort of depend on that. Complex, and when you get there and when you sign the YPP, you'll know. But this, I'm just giving you an overview of ad money that sort of comes in. And then you have non-ads revenue, where, if there are people who sign up on YouTube Premium, and when you sign on YouTube Premium, you don't get ads. But if people still see your content, YouTube still pays you an X amount if premium folks actually saw your content, right? So you don't miss out. Because most of your viewers are on YouTube Premium. Super chats, super stickers, very relevant for gaming. For those of you who are hardcore gamers, you know that you can actually, provide your favorite creator with some money. So you may sort of bid up and say 50 rupees or 100 rupees to say hi or thank you, etc. Right? So you can buy super stickers, all of these things, very relevant and great. As you get bigger, you could potentially also have your merch line. Right? If you know some of our YouTubers, they all have merch lines, right? So Bhuvan has Yuthyapa, Prajakta has, sort of the Dum Dum Army. So they all have merch lines, which then you can sort of sell on YouTube. You can have channel memberships, and then of course you get into the beautiful world of sponsored and branded content, where you can work with brands and they'll give you an X amount of money for you to sort of feature their products. So all of these things come alive on YouTube. and as some of you sort of decide to go there, maybe we can have a more detailed conversation when you do YPP. An important thing to know is when you do sign YPP, you will get a lot of these. You will sort of see how these unlock, but there is sort of a full program. As you get bigger, you will sort of then also potentially feature or for YouTube partner management. So we have lots of scale teams and chat support, etc., that work with you. So this is a rough overview of how revenue starts coming in when you reach a certain threshold and you actually start building exciting content. Next slide. And we can take more questions, right? I don't know where people are. I assumed folks are still going to start making their YouTube channels, but if some of you have it and you have more questions on revenue, we can spend more time there. Back to the left-hand side, which is who will help you, how will you do it, what do you need, and what will it cost? This is actually much easier, and you're really the king of your castle, right, in terms of how much you invest in your videos. But some pillars I can help and share. Next slide. So physical resources, you will need a camera. This is not true if you are making short form videos, all hail TikTok and Reels and YouTube Shorts and Moj and Takatak, right? People are becoming creators with literally just your phone, and that's totally possible. If you are doing long form content, back to my original two examples of, say, a dancer who wants to make a YouTube channel, or a educator who wants to do a YouTube channel, or a food creator, you may want to need a camera because it's really hard to hold a camera and shoot, right? So you need a little bit of a tripod and a camera and sort of shoot what you have to. You of course need a computer, or computer softwares work better. The mobile allows you for very little editing. You will need a location to shoot, right? And this is true everywhere. You will have to scout for locations where you're shooting. It could be outside a mall, but it could also be in sort of a friend's house or a park, etc. All of these require you to sort of structure physical resources. Intellectual resources is really your time and thinking. You may work with a friend to think of original ideas and formats. These are all the intellectual resources you'll put in. If you're a comedian and you want to start, you really have to sit and build out that script. You may also think of your own personal branding, right? So channel branding, you will need an animation, you'll need a little logo, all of those things. So that's great. Maya, did you have a question? Am I too slow or fast?
No. It's perfect, Nidhi.
Okay, all right. And then financial resources. This will come in much later, but you may decide to, again, let's take a stand-up comedian's example, right? So they put out a set, it's doing really well, it's reached 2 million views on YouTube and everyone's loving it. And you suddenly realize, hey, I can actually sell my stand-up shows, which means I need to have merchant ticketing going, which means I need to talk to a stand-up, a venue that hosts stand-up events, and then get into conversations like that. So the third one comes in much later, but the first two for sure, as you start off, you'll have to sort of think through and invest in, monetarily or intellectually. So those are the things you definitely need to be prepared for as you start your journey. Next slide. Right, and then the key activities, which I touched upon this already, is scripting, producing, designing. These are your toolkits as a creator, right? Optimizing, if you're doing events, then event attendance, right? You may host a live if you're a gamer. And how will you sort of build that up? How will you make sure, Maya and Pratibha can tell you that this whole skills factor, event attendance, all of this, if you think of it, this is a broadcasting event and it's an education event. Building all of this up is no small task, right? I've seen how hard they work to bring this to you. So all of this is going to be you as an entrepreneur doing it for your channel. Next slide. And then who will your partners be? So you know about the platforms, but what you can also look at is agencies and multi-channel networks. So there are a ton of agencies who are part, who work with YouTube, who actually find and groom talent. And we work with them because as a platform, we can't necessarily work with a whole long tail of creators. So we go after our agencies and MCNs who sort of build this out together. To name a few, if you are in Bombay and Delhi, are One Digital, Ping Network, OML, which does stand up and gaming. Ping specifically focuses on lifestyle and food. One Digital does a lot of music artists, right? So we have quite a few of those, and we are adding more as we go. And they can be sort of great folks and mentors who can sort of take on your channel and grow it. Of course, for for an agency commission revenue, but these are great resources for you. And so something to think about as you scale. I wouldn't start now. If you suddenly feel like, hey, my channel is blowing out of proportion and I don't know how to capitalize on this, go to an expert. Next slide. Yeah, this is next slide. It's fairly confident. Next slide. Yeah, so this is going to be sort of a large, let's do two pieces of homework, right? Let's pick your favorite creator. And if somebody wants to do it now, please go ahead. Maybe towards the end, we can read out an example by some of you, or you can type it out. But pick your favorite creator that you know, and bring down, write down their value proposition using that, and see what they do, right? How do they bring merch alive? What are the brands they partner with? Where do you see them doing original content? What platforms are they on? Who do you think their customer segment is? It's a great way to sort of learn structurally from folks that you want to, whose path you want to follow. Next slide. And yeah, try building your own model as you go. This is again homework for you. I would be very, very happy to sort of, if Maya and team can sort of build this out. If some of you genuinely build this BMC and you've taken the effort, I'm happy to have a separate conversation with a few of you and really mentor, see where to start. Maybe we can jam on some publishing ideas, etc. My only condition is that you take the effort of sort of building this model, because it does require a lot of thinking. It will need you to really question the what, why, how, the customer segments, all of this. And if you've done all that and you feel you're onto something, very happy to chat some more. But yeah, that's really about it. Hopefully, how to peel the layers of the YouTube onion a little bit. And really, this is where every creator started. Today, they're big international names, but they all started, really, they were, a radio jockey, or they were like, playing the guitar in a restaurant and became really big. Started very, very small outside on the college campus to, to try out. So it could be you. So, and it's always a great place to start on the side. It's creative, it's satisfying, and even if you don't become really big, it's a great way to build a community as well. So yeah, that's a little bit on YouTube. Happy to take questions if we have time.
Superb. Thanks, Nidhi. So we do have a couple of questions. One question is, how often should you post on your channel?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we get this question a lot. More than, so there's two ways to answer this. One is, if you tell me what kind of channel you are, I can tell you the average, right? So comedians, for example, do 2 videos a month, and that's fine because they work really, really hard, and each video really sort of goes through. A lot of food channels do 3 videos a week. Fashion and beauty vloggers today, between shorts and videos, do 5, right? So there is no right answer. The right answer is what you can manage. A lot of people, when they start off, what they do is full enthusiasm. They're putting a video every alternate day. And then after 4 months, they don't have any other videos to put up, right? They're exhausted. They've finished all the ideas. There's a creative slump. Nothing is coming. Writer's block. So the advice I give is really think of it from a year-long or at least a 6-month publishing strategy, right? Sit down and think about what are the key moments that are coming up in 6 months. How many videos can I churn? What are the ideas I have? At any point in time, you want to bank content at least for a month, which means today you should know exactly what you're going to do. In some stage of writing or production, you should have. And so start with maybe 1 video a week, and that's totally fine, but be consistent. Because if you're not consistent, then the algorithm thinks that they've kind of dropped off. Suddenly viewers are not coming, the activity is dropped off. And then your search and discovery, we always say that the biggest marketing platform for YouTube is YouTube, right? The way you can get suggested videos, the way you come in, on the homepage, the way you get discovered. So be kind to yourself and really, and for your well-being, and take on a smaller goal, but a consistent goal. As you feel like, this is working out and this is what I want to do, and invest more time, you can up it. So start with maybe, I would say, at a minimum 2 videos a month, but at least I think once a week is a good one, right? By the time somebody discovers your video, you sort of put little community posts, build it out. Somebody sees it takes 2 days to get the full viewership, you're already on to the next video. So yeah, that's sort of my answer.
Superb. Thank you, Nidhi, for sharing your knowledge here today. I think it was definitely worth the while. What's interesting here is that, this is a career that anyone and everyone can explore. You do not even need like a formal qualification or a degree. The biggest takeaway for our audience here is Nidhi has been very generous and has offered to help some of our audiences, who are genuinely willing to put in that effort, think about how, what, and when. Uh, so, guys, if you have the talent, you put in the efforts and you do it in a structured way, you can really make it big. And, do reach out to us, put in your contact details in the chat, and, we will sort of get in touch with you and see how we can take next steps on that.